Section 3.3 has to do with slope of lines, so this is somewhat Algebra 2 review. If you remember, there is a formula for finding the slope of the line. It is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That formula is something that's just saying it's the difference in the y's over the difference in the x's. You could also get this by counting, but let's say we use the formula down here. So what I have is I have a negative 3, 1, and I have a 2, 4, and I'm going to plug those into the formula. Now you have to know the formula in the sense that sometimes you have to work backwards. They might give you the slope and you have to come up with one of the x's or y's. So on the top I'm going to do the difference in the y's. I have 1 minus 4. Now if I start with 1 on the top, I also have to start with a negative 3 on the bottom. So that's going to give me a negative 3 over a negative 5, which is going to be 3 over 5. Now that's using the formula. If you wanted to count, that would require you to graph it every time. But you literally can start at the 1 point and count up 1, 2, 3. So that's my rise. And then I would do my run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So rise over run is 3 over 5. But that's the exact same thing you get down here when you plug it into the slope formula. There's also special slopes. A slope of 0 is a horizontal line. Now that means when you do your slope formula, you would get a 0 on the top. Like for instance, if I did the slope between those 2 points, let's say I have negative 2, 3, and I have positive 2, 3. And so if I find the slope between those two, it would be, so you can see it, it would be 3 minus 3 over negative 2 minus 2, which is going to give me a 0 on the top and negative 4 on the bottom. Now if I have a 0 on the top, the answer is 0. So the slope of a horizontal line is always 0. A vertical line always has a slope of undefined. Okay, it basically, that's not the same as a slope of 0. That's a slope of, the slope cannot be found. Because, let's say that I have these points. I have the point negative 3, negative 2, and I have the negative 3, positive 4. So if I use those 2 points to find the slope, then I've got negative 2 minus 4 over negative 3 minus a negative 3. That's going to give me a negative 6 over 0. And you know you cannot have 0 on the bottom of a fraction. So this right here, negative 6 divided by 0, absolutely cannot be done. So it has a slope of undefined or empty set. Comparison of slope of parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Remember that parallel lines have the same slope and perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So an example problem might be determine the relationship between the lines and determine whether FG and HJ are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So these two go together and these two go together based on my instructions. So I want to find the slope of FG. So I'm going to go negative 3 minus a negative 1 over 1 minus a negative 2. I'm going to add the opposite there, so I'm going to get a negative 2 over a positive 3. So that is going to be the slope of FG. Then I'm going to do these two. So then I have 0 minus 3. It's the difference in the y's. And I have 5 minus 6. So I have a negative 3 over a negative 1, which is positive 3. Well, if you look at negative 2/3 and positive 3, they are neither the same slope or opposite reciprocal slope. So the answer here would be neither. They're not parallel, they're not perpendicular. All right, let's do another one of those. Okay, again, you're comparing FG and HJ. So I have the slope of FG is 2 minus a negative 3, 4 minus 6. So on the top I have a 5, on the bottom I have a negative 2. And then the slope on this one, I have 5 minus 10 on the top, and I have negative 1 minus a negative 3. So that's going to give me a negative 5 on the top, and on the bottom it gives me a positive 2. Now, it doesn't matter whether the negative is on the bottom or the negative is on the top. These two things match. They're the exact same thing, so we know that the way that these two lines are related is they're parallel because they have the exact same slope. Opposite reciprocal would mean that they're perpendicular, and I would have to have had a slope of positive 2/5 for one of them. All right, the other thing you can do here is you can use slopes to graph a line. So if it says graph the line that contains 5, 1 and is parallel to the line that goes through those 2 points. All right, so I'm going to put 5, 1 on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Okay, but then I have to use these 2 points to come up with the slope. So I have 4 minus 1 over negative 2 minus 2. So that's going to give me a negative 3 over a positive 3 over a negative 4. So I have a slope of negative 3/4 that goes through those two. Well, it says it's parallel, so that means I need that same slope. So from this point, I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go over to the right 4. So that's going to be that other point right there, which means I have the line that goes through those two. Now, when you go to do your slope, you do it from this point. You do not do it from the origin. So here's another one. Graph the line that contains 5, 1. Same point. That's perpendicular to those same 2 points. Now, if you go back, we don't have to do the slope again. Remember, the slope that goes through these 2 points so the slope here is negative 3/4. Well, according to this, I want the line that's perpendicular to that. So the slope that I'm going to use is positive 4/3. All right, so 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 is this point right here. Then I'm going to go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the right 1, 2, 3. And so the line that's perpendicular to the line that goes through those 2 points, and this new line goes through 5, 1, is going to be that line. Okay. All right, your homework is page 142 through 143, 16 through 38 even.